Hello, and welcome to this episode of Realizing Revenues. My name is Jeff Bladorn, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Wealth Access. In each episode of Realizing Revenues, we spend time with key executives from bank and wealth management firms, and we learn about some real-world business challenges from their practices and discover how they're using technology to grow and evolve their businesses to meet the needs of modern consumers and to realize revenues. Today, we're joined by Scott Neff, President and CEO of the Glenview Trust Company in Louisville, Kentucky. Scott is one of the founding principals of the Glenview Trust Company, and with prior experience with several regional investment and trust organizations, Scott's been a leader in utilizing technology as an effective means to scale fast-growing businesses and to improve the client experience. Welcome to the show, Scott, and thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Looking forward to it.
Hey, Scott, maybe just for starters, maybe you can just tell our audience a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the Glenview Trust Company.
Sure. I've been in the investment business for 39 years now. Most of that time has been spent with trust companies of various sizes, from the very large ones to a startup like Glenview was 21 years ago. Although my background's investments, I've dabbled in technology for really most of my career. I'm pretty much self-taught in terms of the technology, and it was all wrapped around how to make things work. So, when I'm presenting to a client, the technology speaks for itself, and I don't have to be as front and center as the tools. In terms of Glenview, we've been around 21 years. We're a state chartered independent trust company, although I would probably describe us more as a wealth management boutique who happens to be a trust company. We're independent. We really focus on one thing, and that's really servicing families. We don't do anything else. We just focus on that and try to do the best level of service we can provide the families, and it's worked out really well over the last 20 years. We've grown to about 18 billion in assets and serviced probably 800 clients. So it's been a nice ride and a nice business.
So, as part of that service, I know that you've leveraged technology as part of your practice, and I know that actually you've gone through a series of technology applications. So you've probably experienced, both the good and the bad of technology rollouts. How did Glenview approach the rollout of your current mobile digital client experience, and any lessons that you might want to share with the audience?
We rolled out Wealth Access probably a year ago, and we did it in a fairly slow manner. We were coming off a tool that we had used for the last probably 10 years, and we kept that tool running while we were rolling this out. The nice thing about the Wealth Access application is we could spin that up in real time, have all the accounts on there and ready to go, so we could do all of our testing, all of our training with our internal constituents. And once we got comfortable the data was correct and accurate and working the way we thought it needed to work, then we could slowly roll out clients at a nice pace. I think it's actually worked very well. The nice part of this, our old technology, we never were able to get a very large adoption on the mobile tools, and with Wealth Access, we're making considerable progress in terms of the client adoption on not just the old clients, but every client that comes on board.
So adoption is obviously an important element of any technology solution, whether it's an internal tool or a client-facing tool. What has your experience been with your client adoption level overall? And are there steps that you think organizations should be taking in terms of not only measuring adoption, but then helping to drive additional adoption?
if I take a step back, adoption is just a difficult issue for any company. As you can imagine, the level of new technologies that come out almost daily really makes it difficult, not just for clients, but for internal advisors to keep up with it. And it can be everything from a new client portal all the way down to whether it's Salesforce or CRM or even trading modules you might come up with. It's the pace of change in the technology space is immense, and you run the risk, at least internally, that you're going to overwhelm the advisors and with all the new technology. More specifically, in terms of the client tool, we found it relatively easy to get clients to adopt it. I mean, for those that were more detailed oriented, we would set up individual meetings or individual calls with them and get them on the tool, and one of us would walk them through it, and that worked well. But the reality is, at least with this tool, it's pretty intuitive and very easy to master in a pretty quick way. So, and that's one of the reasons the adoption has been so high. It's a tool that's, they can get it in any number of ways, whether it's the PC or on your phone, and it's relatively intuitive on how to navigate it. So there hasn't been that friction that you would normally see in trying to adopt a new tool.
So you touched on it early in that response, that it's one element of your technology, right? You have an overall digital ecosystem that really every organization has, right? Specialty systems that are there for a particular discipline, and that starts to spread customer data across those various platforms and creates other challenges for your organization. How have you looked at your overall digital ecosystem and bringing that information together?
Well, it's an interesting question because that ecosystem has changed considerably in the last 3 or 4 years. And if you think back on technology in general, 5 years ago, there were a lot of tools out there, but little, if any, were connected to each other, unless you went about building your own connection or driving data into a data center and then having another tool access that data center. So in some respects, that was an easier environment because it was, almost a standalone tool in every case. But what has changed is as the technologies have gotten better and the connectivity has gotten better, it's a much bigger challenge, particularly, I'd say for every organization, to figure out what's next and how do you connect it and how is it all going to work and play well with everything else you have. So, I kind of figured out a couple years ago that the pace of change that was going on in this space, one person or two people couldn't keep up with it, and I needed to engage other people in the organization. And so we actually formed a group of kind of the next generation of Glenview professionals, and basically set about a task of, hey, you all need to understand and build what the future ecosystem is like. And Jeff, I know you're from the North and you're probably played ice hockey your whole life. Someone from Kentucky who's never set up a foot on the ice wouldn't know it. But the one phrase I always heard and it rung with me was the skate to the puck. And
right.
It's really important in this digital ecosystem. If you're just always focused on where it is today, you're never going to transform your business. And so we're, and I wouldn't say we're by no means finished with this. We're probably in the early innings of really looking at what are the tools we have, how are we going to connect them, do we have the right tools, what tools are missing, and what do we need to do next. And it's, as I say, it's a constant evolution. I think about our ecosystem, which is probably similar to others, but you could really, when you think about the two main components, it's, what's going to be the client interface, and how are we going to provide information to clients, and then what are we going to do for the advisor, and how are they going to gather information and pull it all together? So I think about our client portal. That's our hub of the client experience, and our CRM becomes the hub of the advisor experience. And the ultimate goal then is to connect the two, so everyone is seeing and sharing the same data and being able to service clients in a better way.
So that actually begs a couple of follow-up questions. So going back to the mobile digital client experience,
yeah,
and the rollout that you've had there, I'm curious what type of response you've gotten from your clients as you've rolled it out. Have they found certain features to be valuable, useful, and any experiences that you're willing to share?
Sure. I'd say in general, the rollout and the experience that we've heard from clients has been a fairly positive one. The ones that are looking for that holistic, big picture view absolutely love it. The few clients that are do-it-yourselfers that want to really dive into the weeds of the investment analytics, probably aren't as happy, because that's not what this tool was designed for. I think everyone really likes the one-stop shop of being able to see all their assets and all their different accounts in one place, aggregated with a daily balance sheet and net worth statement. They love that. The vault is it's becoming a very, very popular thing as we start to roll out other functionality. I mean, we started with statements, and so all of our statements get pushed in there every single month. So it's a nice place for clients to get those. But we're also starting to look at ways to put other pieces in there, whether it's commentary from our chief investment officer, whether it's some other piece that a different group is putting in. We're probably in the early innings of that, but I think it works. It's interesting when you think about, does it resonate with clients? I mean, we had one experience where we had a client who came to us, a fairly large, sophisticated client who had lots of assets and lots of different types of accounts and things spread all over the country. And for him to have one place to go and to have one place to put those documents related to those accounts and those individual investments is priceless for him. And it has allowed us to accumulate more of his wallet share, because he likes the tool so much, and it makes it easy on him and also easy on us, because we can tap into that information when we need to give him advice on a particular asset.
Well, that's great to hear. So you touched on the portal as being sort of the hub of your client experience. Obviously, it's important in terms of how you face off to your clients. Do you find that prospective clients take into consideration the type of technology that you're going to offer them as part of your relationship? And if so, have you thought about using the portal with prospective clients?
Yes and yes. I think as the younger generations gather wealth and look for solutions and providers, it becomes table stakes for those younger generations. They want the technology, they wanted it when they want it, they want it where they want it, and if you don't have that, you're not going to be in the mix. Now we're probably in a transition phase from those generations where the older generations, it wasn't as important, partially because it wasn't really available in those days. But I think as you go forward, it's going to be a critical piece of what sells your services. In terms of prospective clients and how you would use it, we're kind of exploring that right now. I mean, I think for a prospect that wants to load some accounts on there and then we walk them through that would be a great thing. sometimes you find clients or prospects aren't quite willing to do that yet. So, I might try to explore a way to doing some type of, for lack of a better word, dummy account that we could use to show all the features, and that, so that's something, Jeff, I'll probably be talking to you before long.
We can get to that, Scott, right at the end of this conversation.
Yeah.
So, hey, another thing that I recall as you were rolling this out, you were also expanding your financial planning practices internally as well. And obviously, there's integration between the client experience and the financial planning tool intended to drive both advisor efficiency and the client experience. Any examples that you could share, or thoughts, observations from that process?
There are more thoughts. We're there again. We're in the early innings of rolling that out. I actually think it's a critical part. You go back to the digital ecosystem and you think about, in this case, the client portal being the hub. I mean, you want to pull the data in from planning tools and the trust system tools and a whole host of others, but that planning piece, being able to connect the client information to a plan that allows those plans to be updated automatically, that allows for a client to go in at any given time and see a refreshed plan. And if they want to drill in to that plan and do some what if analysis, being able to, right from the tool, hit a button and you're inside of the plan, I think is certainly the wave of the future. And it will, when we get it fully implemented, it will, I think, not only drive new clients, but it will also make our process a whole lot more efficient than what it is today.
Sure. So you went back to the ecosystem, which reminded me that I didn't do a follow-up question. You mentioned on the inside that the CRM becomes sort of the hub of the overall digital ecosystem. Obviously, the CRM is dependent on customer data in order to help drive that. So how do you go about leveraging and accessing kind of a unified customer data view to even get into your CRM? And then how do you see that benefiting the Glenview team?
Well, it's going to become an important feature. We're getting ready to roll out the integration with our aggregation tool, which is our client portal tool, where we can share that client data on top of what we already have with our client data. So we can the advisor can look at a holistic view and give much better advice. So we're, let's say, we have our client data in that internal application, but we're looking forward to being able to get the rest of the data in there so we can really include it in everything we do, which will give the client a much better level of service.
Sure. So, going back to that digital ecosystem, one of the side effects of that is the fact that you likely have to work with quite a number of technology partners along the way. I personally know that you've engaged with technology partners really at a very granular level in some cases. How has taking that approach to a partnership been beneficial to both Glenview and your clients? And what do you look for in a technology partner?
Well, I'm not sure how many large firms are able to do it, but for us, it's been a critical part of our success. And this actually, for me, started even before Glenview. But, if you can find a technology partner that truly wants to be a partner and wants to leverage the relationship both ways, where we can provide guidance as to what we're looking for, and they're able to be nimble enough to help us create it along the way, it's a win-win. And my whole career has been spent doing that. One with a portfolio management tool that we've been working on for probably 25 years, and it does exactly what we want it to do, and makes what we do a whole lot more efficient. So it doesn't always work, but we're always looking for those partners or those vendors who want to be partners and want input and want to and relish that the information or the ideas that their clients have, because the reality is it's the best way for a vendor to build their product. Those that just build it and hope you come are the ones that I don't think ever succeed very well. It's those that kind of build it in tandem of what their clients want and need are the ones that have the best chance of building something special.
And I do hope that you find that the Wealth Access team has been a technology partner.
Yes.
We value your partnership and all of our clients that participate. In fact, we are looking forward to seeing you in Nashville in a couple of
Yes.
weeks as well.
Yep.
So Scott, you've shared a lot with us about how you've gone about your approach to technology overall, how some of the client portal experiences have worked out. I know that you've got more that you're looking at in terms of how you're going to move forward. As you said, it's a never-ending, never-changing, or always changing type of scenario with your technology ecosystem. So what's next for Glenview? What areas are you looking to leverage technology to develop solutions?
I think what I know what's next, and it's probably the most important piece of what we're going to do in the next several years, and you could almost call it the holy grail of what the digital ecosystem should be. When you think about sharing information, that's one thing, but being able to layer on top of that some type of workflow engine that allows you to go and from start to finish, and you might be in multiple different tools at once, and when you're done, it feeds it into the accounting system or whatever else you're doing, where it becomes seamless and you stop pushing the paper around. So I think it's critical for any company, certainly those ones that are growing at a fast pace, and I would consider Glenview one of those. We have to do something to make our internal processes more efficient, and because otherwise, you can't keep up. You just end up continuing to add bodies, and you've got to build efficiencies, and the workflow engine solution is that solution, and it should basically be something that can come in and out of all those solutions we use.
Yeah, so obviously when you talk about workflow, there tends to be a bias towards internal operational processes, handoffs internally, and the like. Do you also see workflow as something that is potentially client-facing?
I think so. Yeah, I could see a workflow kicking off potentially in a client portal where it starts there and then flows through, goes back into the internal process and works its way through there. And then when it's done, whatever the request was gets completed. Something goes back to the client, maybe back through the workflow saying, your request is done, and you'll have your deposit in a day or whatever it is. But I think that becomes something that as we move into the next generation, it will become way more important.
Right.
It's kind of the Amazon effect or the Google effect. I mean, that generation is used to things like that, where they can click a few buttons and it's done. And we're all going to have to get there at some point.
Right. Hey, Scott, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing some of your experiences and your thoughts on the use of technology. I'm certain that our audience came away with some ideas that they can probably use within their businesses as well.
Well, thank you, Jeff. It was a lot of fun.
Excellent. And to our audience, thank you for taking the time to learn more about how industry peers are innovating through the use of technology to address business challenges and to realize revenues. Until next time, I'm Jeff Bladorn with Wealth Access. See you soon with more executive insights on realizing revenue.